Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Let's take another look once more at Solana, see what's going on. We're going to start with some back-end liquidation data, see where we're at, and more importantly too, just kind of recognize that Solana is doing fairly well, holding its ground in this 105 to 106 range, where Bitcoin kind of double bottomed out. We saw a higher low for Solana instead. That usually implies some type of bottoming type of situation for an altcoin when it performs better and doesn't establish the same type of pattern as Bitcoin. So those are things we want to kind of look for and identify. Generally, that's where you're, what you're kind of trying to find when you're looking at altcoins. When it comes to liquidation, though, we can see here 110 to about 115. That's that same resistance range for us. Nothing much has changed there. Got a little bit of extra, short liquidation data about 109, 110. When we look here as well, we can kind of recognize from a macro perspective, we get past 110, the next barrier would be 112, and then off to the 120 range. So that's kind of what that's telling us here. Good news is liquidation delta. Take a look at this here. Compare this. This is very, very small in comparison. If you could look at this here, take a look at liquidation delta for Bitcoin. 16 billion in liquidation delta. It is absolutely insane right now. Where Solana is hardly even seeing any liquidation whatsoever, at least compared to the extremities of the past, right? So generally speaking, when you see that, that implies a lot less people are shorting this coin, therefore reinforcing more support of this level that we're having almost as many longs in the market. That's usually a good sign. Having said that, let's take a look here. 112 to 118 is some open interest here locally. We got a lot more open interest at 105, and previous to that, about 96. So I do feel like 96 to 105 is a pretty solid support range for Solana. Let's take a quick look at the daily time frame and recognize that there's nothing to see here. It's all trash. The whole entire market looks terrible in the macro, just because we've been in a pretty a holding pattern of 2 to almost 3 month descending type of trend that's going to consistently establish lower highs and lower lows until it doesn't. That's really what it boils down to. So at this point, we're going to need to see a price point of 120 or higher to feel even remotely bullish. Okay, so don't get that into your head that we are back on track just because we have short-term convergences. But the truth here is that we are starting to see this 20-day SMA getting tested multiple times. It's typically a good sign. We're also seeing money flow index increasing. The same thing happens with Bitcoin too. We get a high MFI, kind of implying when we have a shift in momentum, that's an early sign of reversal. So those are usually good signs. We're also maintaining above the moving average. MACD's converging, stochastic swinging up. These are all great signs minus this obvious trend line scenario. In other words, we're still under this descending trend. Until we break above that trend, is generally construed as higher risk if you're going to consider a long at this point. Hourly time frame is probably going to reflect a very similar structure here. Because when we looked at this yesterday, we were actually above the cloud. And then instantly, as soon as I upload all my videos, the price went straight down, mainly because Trump sent out a 104% tweet for China and effectively tariffed the hell out of them. So that's going to cause some ripples in the market. But at this point here, I do personally feel that once we get above this 107 to 108 range, we'll be in good shape. We'll be back above the cloud. We'll be testing that descending trend and or breaking above it if we get to 110. So anywhere between now and 110 is going to be kind of the promised land, so to speak, for Solana. It does look like we're ready to kind of break out here in this little area. This is a standard type of manipulation situation too, where we got the price action working itself into a channel, pulls into a manipulation wave, and then we could very well see an expansive wave here soon. Either way, very crude, very early to tell. The key takeaway here is I feel Bitcoin will run towards this 80K range. There's a lot of reasons why it's probably going to happen. Pending we don't get another Trump tweet, we should be in pretty decent shape to see the low 80K range retested in the relative near future. Okay, that's kind of where we're at. And what will that do for Solana? Well, since Solana didn't establish at lower lows like Bitcoin, or parallel low rather, it established higher lows, that's generally a very favorable sign, indicating further upside is more likely for this coin. All right, folks, I hope that makes sense. I described it correctly. Those are things I try to look for when I'm trading altcoins, and generally that's a good start here. So we'll see what happens. I'll post our playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. It's all available there for you if you want it. Otherwise, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Let me know your thoughts on this coin here. Where are you at? Are you long, short? How you feeling? I look forward to seeing the next one either way. Take care.